Hello, I'm Alan Malik with Patient Tools, and I wanted to run through a quick demo on what community network integrated implementations look like. They're really, it's kind of all background at this point. You're just making more connections. So what you end up doing is you can connect different agencies and practices. So maybe you have a early learning center using the simplified implementation. So they're just doing all their work completely cloud-based and online and very simple and easy to manage, maybe 25, 30 kids sort of thing. And then, you may hook up with a medical practice. So maybe they're running an on-demand system sort of thing. And so they're basically working kids inside of that system. And what we're going to show is how you can connect those two together. And then on the bigger systems, so maybe they're EMR integrated at that point. And so it's the same sort of thing though. Once you've created profiles and shared the profiles, you can coordinate care on a profile basis. In addition, with proper data agreements in place, just MOUs or whatever, you can end up with using the dashboard to look across multiple practices. And there's other ways to look across practices as well. So basically whatever data you're allowed to share, whether it's on a profile basis or on an aggregate practice basis, is now available for the community network and can be used in lots of different ways. So let's kind of dig into some of the details a little bit. So I'm going to go and look at some of the PTI apps. So in this case, what you end up doing is all the different locations that you're going to try to hook the data together, they're all using their own PTI office and front desk and print stations and dashboards, or maybe they're running everything through an EMR integration using a data exchange and so forth. And what we're going to end up doing then is showing how you can use a couple of these apps to get into the specific information that from a profile perspective. So looking at the front desk, there's some other views inside of here that are useful for this sort of thing. So what it comes down to on this is you can go through and basically take somebody like Billy Demo over here, and over here on Connect to Patient Tools Profile, this is kind of like creating essentially a social media sort of account. And so what you can do here is you can just copy the office information over. So we take the first name for Billy as being the profile name, and we just use the email address associated. So now if we just connect that person up, they are now what we call profile connected inside the system. So now if there's another practice or location that profile connects to Alan Malik at patienttools.com with the profile name of Billy, now that data can get linked together. And so it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Over here under the details, when you get into these sorts of things, what happens down here is this second column over here is actually where the screening was done and when it was done. And so what you end up doing is you pull data from any location that's connected profile-wise with Billy here. And under stuff like the screening list, you have over here where you can include your practice only, or you can look across your practice connection or look across all connections, where all connections can even be over to personal apps and so forth. So now you can see the individual information at those sorts of levels. The other piece that comes in here then is you can have open flags and referrals. So if somebody's flagged somewhere, you can turn around and go, oh, well, let's actually, this is a referral that got pulled up here. But if we just look at a flag, we can sit back and go, oh, we're flagging on quite a few axes here sort of thing. But you can start writing notes, you can change the outcome and dispositions, you can set statuses, you can connect to another, like say maybe it's the Early Learning Center connecting to the local medical, so it's a medical home sort of situation. So, lots of different ways to configure it. Usually what you do in these community networks is whoever has done the screening is kind of responsible for following up on the flag or making referrals, and then you can refer over to and hook in, say, like your public health or your early intervention or your child find and so forth for evaluations. You can go to any sort of referral location. You can hook schools in with the system and so forth. So anybody who needs information and wants to coordinate the care associated with that particular individual can then get hooked in by just hooking up their profiles. So it's very much like very much like using Facebook, and you're just thinking, who are your friends and so forth, or basically what connections are you going to allow to see the information. And then finally, if we go back and just look at like a dashboard sort of thing, once again, the analysis on the dashboard, all we're doing is we're saying that if you have your data agreement in place, then we can then hook that information together. It can get thrown into the aggregation. You can throw a filter that'll show specific practices within the overall group. But it's an easy way to compare, what are your flag rates, my group, versus the next group down the street sort of thing. What are your screening rates and so forth. And it's very useful in terms of looking at performance and trying to manage programs and so forth. So probably a little bit beyond where most people are at right now, but we have implemented this program up in Grand County, where we kind of went across in that particular situation, just kind of doing this whole pilot thing. We ended up with about 90% reach on the whole thing. So they basically went and hooked the early learning centers with the schools, with the public health, with the private practices, with the medical centers, and basically they're tracking every single kid in the county. And the reason why they're even at 90% is because there's a lot of transient population up there. So, the statistics are a little bit tough to keep up to and so forth. But it's a great way if you want to do a completely integrated system and talk across groups and so forth. But probably a little bit beyond where a lot of places are right now. But this is the kind of capability that's available to you and where screening is going to in the long run. So anyway, that's our demo. Thank you very much for your time.